Hi, Business Grizzlies. Dean Chuck Pierce here. I'm excited to share a few updates. Elliott Hall is celebrating 25 years as the home of the School of Business, a milestone that reflects how far we've come and the impact we continue to make. Our Beta Gamma Sigma chapter, the International Honor Society recognizing top business students worldwide, received the organization's highest honors designation for the second consecutive year, recognizing the excellence of our students and faculty. Finally, thanks to our alumni and partners who joined us for the OU Golf Classic in September, your ongoing support makes a meaningful difference in our students' experience. Now, let's get to today's conversation. I'm excited to hand things over to business student Mercy Jeffries to introduce our guest. Mercy, take it away.
Thanks, Dean Pierce. I'm Mercy Jeffries, and I'm a sophomore here at Oakland University, double majoring in dance and finance. I'm an active student leader on campus, working for various offices, including Orientation and New Student Programs, the Center for Multicultural Initiatives, and University Housing. I'm excited to be hosting this episode of Grizz and Biz, and I hope to inspire meaningful conversations and highlight many experiences that shape the Oakland University's campus and community. Today, I'm excited to be sitting down with a School of Business alum, Trina Scott. Trina Govern Scott is a seasoned corporate executive, board advisor, and thought leader with more than 2 decades of experience advancing organizational strategy, culture, transformation, and community impact. She currently serves as Vice President of Civic and Community Affairs at Rock Ventures, where she designs and leads cross-company engagement strategies, governmental affairs, and culture initiatives. Previously, Trina served as Executive Vice President for Appraisal Services at AmRock, addressing systemic bias in real estate valuation, and as Chief Diversity Officer at Rocket Companies, where she strengthened local business partnerships and organizational culture. Early in her career, she led corporate responsibility at Ernst & Young, overseeing programs that supported 1,100-plus students in 32 cities, and held leadership roles in compliance, audit, and operations at Sharing Plow Corporation. Trina is also the vice chair of Oakland University's Board of Trustees and serves as boards of Inform Michigan, the Midnight Golf Program, and the Rocket Giving Fund. An Oakland University alum and former women's basketball player, she's been recognized among Savoy Magazine's most influential executives in corporate America and Michigan's Chronicles Woman of Excellence. Trina, we are beyond thrilled to have you on our podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. God, that's a mouthful. Thank you so much for hosting, and thank you for inviting me. I'm super excited. I think I shared that this is my first true podcast in person, and I'm always so happy to come back to Oakland and be able to share my experience and talk about my career and give hopefully some advice that will be helpful for current students and alum.
Absolutely. It's all amazing. I've already said a bit about you and who you are, but I want to start by you telling us a little bit about your background personally and professionally that led you to your current role today.
Yes. No, thank you for asking that. Listen, when I came to Oakland, gosh, so many years ago, 1991 is when I started at Oakland. It took me 5 years to graduate, but honestly, it wasn't my first choice. I was being recruited by Western Michigan, and Western Michigan decided that at the time they wanted me to wait and see if they got a player before me. So Oakland came knocking. Coach Taylor was the coach at the time, and it was my second choice. And man, did I not understand what a great experience I would have here at Oakland.
Yeah.
I started here as a physical therapy major, believe it or not.
Wow.
Not understanding that being a student athlete and also, having the commitment of being a physical therapy major, how difficult that would have been. I didn't do well in my first few classes. I said, okay, let me switch and see if there's something else that I am interested in. And so my dad and mom said, listen, business is the core of everything. You should decide to, make a decision to go into business. And I did. So I was originally not only a physical therapy major, switched to business, was in accounting, Took my first few accounting classes, and then I had a chance to intern at a small tax accounting firm. And I did taxes in a basement for, I don't know, a summer. And I came back and I said, listen, I don't know if I can do accounting. This is not my jam.
Yeah.
And so I switched to finance so that I could at least graduate within 5 years. And boy, was that a great experience. Never say never, by the way, Mercy. I ended up starting as an intern at Henry Ford Hospital, where I was in internal audit. So although I didn't want my degree in accounting, I ended up working in accounting as, my first few years out of college. Was recruited to the Detroit Medical Center, worked there for 6 months, and just bought a condo and was laid off. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And so I ended up working for the gas company at the time, which was called Mishcon. And that's where I first got my experience as a leader. I was leading people that were in a function that had been there over 20 years. And here I was 4 years out of college leading a team. And then I was threatened to be laid off again. And I am a member of the National Association of Black Accountants. And a mentor shared with me, hey, listen, Trina, bring your best resume and wear your best suit and some comfortable shoes. We're going to go to a career fair. And we ended up going to that career fair, and I ended up meeting a recruiter from Shearing Plow, which is a pharmaceutical manufacturing company. It was bought by Merck some time ago, but at the time, it was in New Jersey, and had never left Michigan to live or to work. And so I gave myself a shot, and it was the best experience of my career. I had an opportunity to work in 14 different countries as an internal auditor. I had a chance to, work abroad. I worked in Puerto Rico for 2 years. And so it was just a great experience for me. In between all of that, the guy that I was dating here at Oakland was also my boyfriend at the time. And he said, hey, listen, if I don't ask you to marry me, then I don't know if you'll come back to Michigan. True story. And so I think that was a proposal. And so my husband and I, currently my husband, and I decided to get married. We got married in PR in Puerto Rico. And so we moved back. I moved back in 2006 and found myself looking for another role. Hopefully the listeners will understand that, my experience has been around relationships and opportunity and passion. And so at the time, the person I was working for said, hey, listen, we don't have any roles in Michigan, but I have some people that I know at Ernst & Young in a specialty practice called Fraud Investigations and Disputes. And so I said, okay, I put my name in the hat, had an interview, and before I could even get back to the States, I was hired by Ernst & Young. I worked as a consultant for pharmaceutical manufacturing companies and medical device companies. Did that for about 4.5 years, and then our daughter was born in 2008. And we had a life-changing event, not just with her birth, but she was born with a really rare health condition that required my husband and I to make some different decisions. And so for me, it was important that I was present. At the time, my role called for me to be on the road 80% of the time. So I felt like I needed to make a change. And so I decided to really pivot and lead in another way. And so I went to the firm and I said, listen, I quit. And they said, no, thank you. We don't accept your resignation. And Jeff Bergeron, who was the office managing partner at the time, said, listen, Trina, Ernst & Young was one of very few companies that had moved down to Detroit. Detroit is not what it is, downtown Detroit today. There were only a few large corporations that were headquartered down there. And he said, I really could use your help. And I said, okay, what does that mean? I'm a native Detroiter, but use my help in what? Yeah. And he said, listen, we want to make sure that we have the right representation here in the city of Detroit, that we're meeting the client's needs, and we really love your help in doing that. And so that was my first entree in 2010 into diversity, equity, and inclusion. At the time, the firm was cutting edge. on really thinking about the effort around really, more importantly, women and people of color, and making sure that we had opportunities for advancement in the firm. And so I said yes, but I said yes with not a lot of experience around diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah.
So, I leveraged my skill set as an auditor, as a strategist, and really went to work on what was most important around retaining team members at Ernst & Young, recruiting team members to Ernst & Young, and our footprint in the community.
Yeah.
And so that's where I got my feet wet in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I led that for 18 months, and then I was asked to lead corporate social responsibility, where I focused on education and leading the effort around helping young people gain access to and through college. So I helped to bring a program called College Map together for the firm, which you talked about, and it was probably when the aha moment came on for me of really making sure that anything that I did in my career was aligned with community and aligned with giving others opportunity to succeed. In between all of that, I met an executive from, at the time, Quicken Loans, and Tony Knuckles is his name. And Tony was like, hey, listen, Trina, this guy named Dan Gilbert has this company called Quicken Loans, and they were new to Detroit in terms of moving downtown. He said, we really could use your help around diversity, equity, and inclusion. For 3 years, Tony's a master salesperson. He said, listen, I could use your help.
Yeah.
And I said yes. And so on the sidelines, I was helping them kind of build out their diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy. And then they opened a role in 2016 for this for a leader in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I started in January of 2017, and the team was not formed, so I had a chance to build it from scratch, focus on recruiting, retention, community outreach, and really retention strategies for the company. And I haven't looked back. Was able to build that strategy out, and the goal was to integrate the function of diversity, equity, and inclusion into everything that the company was doing. I think we've made some great strides in doing that. After 2020 and the effort that we had around, the world around George Floyd's death, COVID-19, it took its toll on me personally, and so I raised my hand and I said, I think it's time for someone to take this effort to the next level. I'm very good at recognizing where I feel like my skill sets have been maximized, and when there's time for someone else to come in and step in and take it to the next level. And so that's where I got my experience in at Amrock, which is a company, a part of the Rock family of companies that Dan Gilbert owns. The goal was to help mint more diverse appraisers. For a year, we had our efforts around that. And then there was an opportunity to really focus on our effort in the community. We have a very big footprint in Detroit. When I say we, I'm talking about Rocket Companies and the Gilbert Family Foundation, and the effort really of making sure that we are working with the community on the things that mostly matter to the community. And so I was able to create a function for civic and community affairs, amplifying the macro philanthropic investments of the Gilbert Family Foundation and the Rocket Community Fund, but really getting to the micro level of, everyday citizens that are doing the work in their community, whether it be block club leaders, people who are trying to start new businesses, and working with our elected officials and things that are happening at the governmental level and helping to bring those resources to community. So a long way to say, I found my jam in the middle of a storm of, making a decision for my family. Yeah. And, my prayer at the time was, please, if my daughter is able to get through this medical moment, that I would live my life in purpose. And I'd like to say that today I do. My three passion areas are community, golf, and cancer. And I'd like to say that I'm focused on those three things, along with many other things that I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk about.
Yes, that's all amazing. That was a really, the story went from one thing to like another. I feel like your career has really expanded just from being at OU, wanting to do physical therapy, and then like where you are now, it's like totally full circle to get to where you are. But that was really great. And you do a lot of things for the community, so I love that. What does a typical day like in your role look like for you, even with the different things that you do? But
yeah, I think a typical day for me is really listening. I try to find opportunities to plug into what people are doing. And I do that by a few ways. One is following the philanthropic investments of the Gilbert Family Foundation and the Rocket Community Fund. And what I mean by that is really where are we making our biggest strides and our biggest philanthropic investments, and really doubling down on those, what I would say, mom pop community leaders that are doing the work, but maybe not at the level yet of a major grant, but they are in need of support, whether it be financial support at a smaller grant opportunities, or whether it be, needing to understand that there are resources that are already available. I'll give you an example. There are many, many organizations throughout the city of Detroit that are doing great work. There are also many community groups that are doing great work, like block club groups. One in particular that I can think of is a school teacher who started buying up property and land around the area that she lived in for years. And there wasn't an active community center or park for the students and the youth to play in. And so she created a garden and started to make pathways for youth to be able to play and have safe spaces in the community. And while, again, her effort wasn't at this very macro big level, her effort was making a big impact into her community. So working with my team members at Rocket, finding ways to bring volunteers to help clean during the fall and the spring without any cost to her, was a major, major lift, being able to help build out this area of which she was doing on her own. That's just one of many examples of what people are doing in their community to strengthen the efforts in their community, and how Rocket is listening to those efforts and bringing along, whether it be financial support or human capital support. And so it's a great way to give back. It's a great way to retain our team members, and it's a great way to help efforts that are happening in the community.
Yeah, that's amazing to be able to see the people and give them, I guess, the resource to be able to get more support for their communities, and just the things everyone doesn't see every day. I feel like your company helps to get things started. I feel that's very important in the community, even when it's not in front of everyone's face all the time. I really like that. It's really cool. What would you say success looks like to you now compared to when you started your career, or even just started college when you didn't really know what you wanted to do? But
yes,
yeah.
I think the difference is my parents were like, you need to get a job when you graduate.
Yeah.
And that's true. And it is our mantra to our daughter too. But I think the difference in my mindset now is, really looking at things that align with my career aspirations and the passion that I have. And my advice to, current students or anyone is really making sure that you have alignment with the things that you're passionate about and the skill sets that you have. I think it's important to hone in on those skill sets, but it's also important to make sure that they align with things that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Because on those days when it's cold outside or when it's tough to get yourself motivated, when you're working and doing something that you're passionate about, those things, you overcome those obstacles, because you know that there's a bigger, broader effort that is afoot, and you have that passion behind you to propel you forward.
Do you think working and traveling to all of the different countries that you did when you were auditing, did that help to build your passion for what you do now? Or did that contribute?
I think so, because, oftentimes I went to places where I didn't know the language or I have never been before.
Yeah.
And so it really opened my eyes to, one, understanding how important it is to get ingrained into the community. I was an internal auditor, and so we all worked for the same company, but in each area or each site, there was a different feel and culture, if you will.
Yeah.
There's a major culture at a university or an organization or a business, but then there are subcultures within that, like the School of Business probably have a different vibe than the School of Engineering.
Yeah.
Well, at the time, the company that I was working for, the U.S. had a different feel than Portugal or than France or in Spain. And so it really was important for me to, one, take the time to understand what the vibe was like there, but also ensuring that I was listening first. As an auditor, you're coming in for a short amount of time to give advice about something that someone works on every single day. And you're there for that short amount of time to assess risk and give recommendations of how to mitigate that risk. And so it could be very adversarial, even if you're working for the same company. And so I really learned the skill set of listening and building relationships so that it was very much understood what that person's role was and what my role was, but we're there for the same outcome. And I take that same mentality in everything that I do. So, yes, traveling to different places and having those experiences help to really shape how I approach whatever it is that I'm working on now. Really a listening ear first, even if I have an idea of what I want to do or how I think things should end up.
Right.
I really go in with an open ear first, because that might shift in what I'm hearing from them and what I'm thinking that the need might be of really what the need should be.
Yeah, that's really very, very important. I think listening to other people. Community is something I also value as well. And just like coming into a space and assessing what's going on before I feel like I need to do anything. I feel like I really value like hearing other people and their experiences I think is really important. So that's great. What would you say has been the biggest challenge in your career? You did mention a few challenges that you had early on through the different things you've done, but I guess what would be the biggest one for you?
You know, as I reflected on that, the questions that you had posed ahead of time, I think the biggest challenge is understanding when it's time to do something different. And I think that when I made the decision to step down as the chief diversity officer, it was my own. And at the time, I would say that it was one of the hottest topics.
Yeah.
At the time, I believe that I was considered a thought leader in that space. But I have a mentor who at the time shared with me, when you have misalignment with what like your passion is and misalignment of like what you're trying to achieve, and when that's not there anymore, you have to make the decision and be honest with yourself. It's time to do something different. That probably was the biggest decision that I made in my career. But it also was the most fulfilling one, because I recognized that it was time for me to pass the baton to someone else.
Yeah.
And more importantly, that, people remember when you show up and you do something with not the best effort. They don't remember when you say no and you pivot and you do something different.
Right.
And so I felt like it was important for me to recognize that about myself. I have a lot of self-awareness, and being able to address that in a way where it made the most sense for me first personally, but then ultimately for the company. And so that wasn't the first type of decision that I made that way, but the most recent challenge. I would also say that, making the decision in undergraduate to not play basketball for 4 years was also a big, big decision. In retrospect, I think that now, as I think about it, and I no longer have student loan debt, I would have stuck it out and played my 4 years of eligibility, and that led me to mentoring other student athletes around, what's the main thing. Yes, you want to play. Most of us have had success in high school, but when you get to college, it's a different ball game, meaning, it's more of a job.
Yeah.
And looking at it as really a step to help you further your career or jumpstart your career outside of the court or the course or whatever the sport may be is really important. So for me, as I talk to our student athletes, as I talk to others that are athletes across the country, I try to make sure that the main focus is around getting school paid for.
Yeah.
And also obtaining your degree. And then what happens after you don't play that sport.
Yeah.
And my dad and mom were very, very, very insightful in that you won't play basketball forever.
Right.
And what will you do after that?
Yeah.
And so I think it's important that, when you have obstacles, you think about what the short and long term challenges are and how you can overcome them.
Yeah.
And taking one little bit at a time. So challenges will always come your way. But the most important thing is keeping, I believe, the main focus in mind. And for me, it is around one, self-awareness and self-preservation, and two, making sure that whatever I do has alignment with what I believe and what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, that was very insightful, especially the last comment you made on basketball and everything that surrounded that. I think I can relate in a little bit, not a student athlete, but as a dancer, which I think led me to add on a finance degree. Just like, you never know. I mean, obviously, a physical activity you can't do forever. So I was like, I'd love to. I'm passionate about numbers or, like things in finance. So to be able to have a degree that I probably could use for longer, I think also led me to get both. Why not? But that is a great point you bring up for student athletes, all of them out here that might be listening.
Yes, hopefully they are. And
Yes.
I'm so excited about our women's and men's basketball teams.
Yeah.
And I'm still greatly involved in that. And hopefully we will have continued success on the court, but mostly success off the court.
Yeah.
So that we can continue to help our student athletes and really students not just get into Oakland, but graduate from Oakland and start their careers and contribute to the community.
That's amazing. How would you say you recharge after leading and being such in demanding roles? How would you recharge yourself?
I think there are two things. One is the balance at home. When I get home, my family doesn't look at me as some title or anything. They look at me as Trina or Mom, or as my dog would be, getting him something to eat or a treat. But I think the way that I recharge is, one, I really try to take the time for myself. I try to meditate. I try to recognize when the glass is overflowing and realize that I can't pour from that glass unless I pour into myself first. So I'm very, very intentional about that. And I'm an avid golfer. So being on the golf course is somewhere that I find just very, very, very serene for me, and also a place where I can just be free. Because it's you in that course and that little ball that you're trying to get in the hole. But, Michigan is cold, so you can't play all year round.
Yeah.
So I find myself, really spending time with family is so important to me, and very close friends. So I just try to surround myself around positive energy and around people that, have the same values that I have. Yeah. So that's the way I recharge.
That's great.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about golf, but I have heard it's very relaxing sport, and people who love it.
Well, hopefully you will take advantage of the two courses, world-renowned courses that we have here.
Yeah, I've seen them on campus.
Yes.
They're very, very, very nice.
Every student should take advantage of the golf courses, even if you haven't played before. Going over to the range and just finding out about it, and adding that to your repertoire is so important. I mean, it's helpful for not only business, but also networking and relationships. And man, I could go on and on and on about golf.
I saw that you serve with Midnight Golf, which is really nice. My brother just got into that program, so
awesome.
I hope he's doing great in there.
Awesome. My daughter's in the program too, so we'll have to make sure that they connect.
Yes. That's amazing. Kind of jumping over to OU a little bit. I guess you already answered why you came to OU, but kind of why'd you come back to OU now that you're back serving as the Board of Trustees, what led you to come back here?
That's a great question. I felt, and this is being very vulnerable, I felt like I kind of let myself down when I didn't play anymore. But there were a few people that encouraged me to push forward. One of them being Glenn McIntosh, who we recently lost. Yeah. Another person being Prasada Datta, who was a professor at the time here. And I remember them sharing with me that it wasn't a a bad thing that I wasn't playing anymore. I had another way that I can contribute to the university. And so I started tutoring while I was a student here. And once I graduated, I really honestly didn't feel like it was something that I needed to come back to campus for and be involved as an alumni until someone reached out to me and said, hey, would you be interested in serving on the alumni board? And my goal is to be on corporate boards, as I continue to progress in my career. And I thought that would be a great way to get my feet wet. You already quoted the boards that I serve on currently. And I thought it was a great way to get back involved in Oakland. And so I served on the alumni board, thanks to Aaron, who at the time was an employee here at OU. And I was then asked to give the commencement speech in 2019. And that was probably the most, I'm trying to find the best superlative word that I could use. It was the proudest moment that I had as an alumni. One, being able to step in and to talk to students that were graduating, but two, to have my parents there, my daughter there, to have my husband beside me. My husband is also a 2-time graduate of Oakland. Both his undergraduate and master's is from here. He worked at Oakland a few times. So it was such a proud moment to come back and to share with students my experience and to hopefully motivate them as they started their career. So those are a few things that brought me back. And being a trustee is a government-appointed position, a governor-appointed position. And so at the time, the vice chair, Tanya Allen, the chair of the board, Tanya Allen, had asked me if I was interested. And I paused for a moment, as I do with a lot of things. And I said, not now. And there's a time period in which you can apply. And it was it was very close to being closed, the time period to apply for the opportunity. And Tanya called me and she said, are you sure? And I said, I hear you, Tanya. I will give it a shot. And I did. I applied, and unbeknownst to me, my friend and colleague, dear friend and colleague who helped make the decision to come to Oakland, Joe Jones and his wife, Jessie Jones. Jessie also played college basketball at Oakland. They were dating at the time. They hosted me when I came for my visit. Joe was also being evaluated as a trustee. And it was during COVID, so we were all, at home and virtual. And Joe and I had no idea that we were both being considered for the role. So I felt like it was divine for us to have this opportunity, and for me in particular to be selected and chosen by the governor to serve on the Board of Trustees. It's an 8-year appointment. I'm in my 5th year. And in June, my colleagues made the decision to vote me in as vice chair. And that is something that I'm very proud of. And I also serve on the audit committee. So the very, very huge roles that I have, but I take them with great pride, and also ensuring that we have a sustainable university for years to come. And so our goal is to make sure that we are not only sustaining Oakland for today, but for the future. And so it is something that I'm most proud of.
That is really great. And it is one thing I do love about Oakland is our community, and how you mentioned people kind of just reaching back out to you and continuing to stay connected with Oakland University as a campus. Something that I think we value a lot, making sure people always come back. There's a lot of employees that are Oakland alums, so that's really great. Well, how would you, or for students hoping to be in leadership roles, what advice would you give to be in leadership roles like yours, or honestly in any capacity?
Yeah, I think that it is important to get involved. I mean, you and I were talking, and you're involved with a lot.
Yeah.
And that's awesome because the more that you're involved, the more opportunities that you get to ascend to leadership. You just don't become a leader.
Yeah.
You actually build those skill sets by being involved as an individual contributor. So my advice is if there are many organizations on campus, and if you don't find one that speaks to you, you can start one.
Yeah.
And so I would say one, outside of just being a very good student and making sure that you knock it out the park in the classroom, it's also important to get engaged. The more that you're engaged, the more that you get an opportunity to build those skill sets.
Yeah.
And the skill sets that I think they're important as a leader, one is listening. And I think that's very valuable. Listening is not just with your ears, but it's also with being involved and engaged. Listening is also being able to take in information and discern from that information. So I think that's one, an important thing. Two is being very good at what you do. And I think the more at bats you give yourself, the better you become at that thing. And three, I think it's really super important and vital to build relationships and networking. So as a student, I was very, very involved with office hours for professors, whether I needed it because I was struggling, or whether it was to build relationships. And I think that as we are coaching our daughter, who's a senior in high school, and hopefully one day will be an OU student, that no matter where she goes, we're encouraging her to be able to build relationships, and that's an important thing. She does it right now with her teachers at her high school, and we are going to and continue to encourage her to do that with whatever campus she lands on. And so for every student out there, including you, you have to build relationships. And it's easy to do it when you're in this setting because their expectations I don't think that people have a lot of expectations of when students come to them, whether it be professors, as in faculty, or staff. And everybody is waiting and willing to help. And so the more that you do that, the more that you reach out, the more comfortable and confident you become in being able to do it as in your profession or your career.
Yeah, I completely agree. Getting involved is a great tip. This word, my word for my OGL summer was involvement, which I just thought was interesting because I'm like, yeah, I guess I do get involved a lot. And it really has helped me as a leader, especially, and just having a better experience at OU, just being involved in everything. And I don't know, it makes for great college experience.
Absolutely. And you meet people, right?
Yeah. So many connections made. Even just getting connected to where I am sitting right here is just through connecting with people on campus and making sure people know who I am and I know who they are, and knowing it also helps me be able to help other people to know who to go to and have the connection. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I guess to end us off, what's next for you, or what dreams are on your list, or whatever you want to get to next?
I have a lot percolating. At my home office, I have this sticky note that says, focus on one thing. That's hard for me to do.
Yeah.
Professionally, I have a consulting firm called Cultural Communications that I'm launching. So focused on executive coaching, providing strategic planning, and also community engagement. And so that's fun, launching that with my husband, Dr. Semino Scott. And I'm also working on a documentary about golf in Detroit, and how municipal courses played as country clubs when Black golfers weren't allowed to play in country clubs. So I have drawn that passion from my dad, and my dad taught me golf at a very early age. And golf is traditionally perceived as a white-collar sport. And my dad was a blue-collar, he had a blue-collar career. And so I think there's a very interesting story about municipal courses and how the everyday average resident or citizen really does play golf, and the impact that it has had in the community. And so that's a passion project that I'm working on, and hopefully we'll launch that in the next year or so. And then my last thing that I'm working on is a book called Hysterical Strength, which is my personal memoir about my trajectory in life and the things that I've experienced, and I think it will be very helpful to share with others. So those are just a few things that I'm working on.
Very amazing. And, I'll look into some gothing, and when you come out with that book, I'll be sure to give it a read.
Amen. Thank you in advance.
Yes. Well, it's been so incredible and honestly very inspiring hearing about your life and your career. As we're nearing the end of the interview, do you have any words of encouragement or advice? You've given a lot of advice so far, but just for students or recent graduates of Oakland University.
Yes, I would say one is take the opportunity to hone your skills. I haven't talked a lot about that. I've talked about the things that I've worked on and the opportunities that I had, but it's important that whatever role you have, that you do well in it, and you take everything that you can from it, because it absolutely builds on the next thing. My career started out as an auditor, and now, I'm a community liaison. And I leveraged the skills as an auditor, the strategic skills that I learned, the skills of listening, the skills of engaging, and I apply that in everything that I do. Even if it's not as technical as auditing, I still use those skills and apply it in different ways. So I would say whatever it is that you're doing, do it with excellence. And know that even if it's not your passion thing that you're working on or the thing that you're most excited about, that thing that you're in is helping you get to the next level. I do truly believe that everything builds off of things that you've had experience in. That's what my life has been, and I really believe that that's what others have as well. So while you may not go right into a dancing troupe, or maybe you work for Morgan Stanley when you get out of college, that might not align directly with your passion, but it's going to give you the experience to build to leading to those things that might be aligned specifically and directly to your passion. And so I give that to everyone, that no matter what the opportunity is, seize it, make the most out of it, and build for the next thing.
Yeah, that's really great advice. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
But yes, Trina, thank you again for joining us and sharing your story and insights. It's been an honor having you on Grizz and Biz. And to everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. To stay connected with us, follow us on our social media, and we'll see you next time.